So, I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty slow morning here. I haven't had really anything pop up between when I woke up at 6:45 and now, so probably be waiting a bit for anything to happen, really. What are the few things we were watching? So there was UTME, pretty high price stock, popped up. Has pulled back a bit from the high, but extremely light volume. Probably won't take a trade on this. The spreads are like insane, $2 spreads. So definitely can't justify taking a trade on that. I would say SOS is like similar to what we saw yesterday on. Let me get up my watch list from yesterday. What were we looking at yesterday? Was it BTX? Yeah, it was BTX. If you looked at between SOS and BTX, very similar. Came up on news the night before. Popped up in the pre-market, pulled back, and now is coming up a bit, coming into the market open. So BTX didn't really end up resolving into anything yesterday, so we'll keep an eye out if this turns into anything, but, we didn't get any resolution yesterday, so we're looking similarly slow this morning, so I expect a kind of similar movement here. Decent volume on this though since 7 o'clock. It's looking all right. Also, I feel like my scanner isn't triggering properly. So I feel like it probably should have triggered on this. Between 592. Actually, I don't know. Really not a massive move that it made. I don't know. But yeah, so we'll watch for this to come up, but I would say I don't have super high hopes on it. Within the last couple months, it was up at $16, and it's pulled back all the way from then. This is a crypto stock? What is this? Yeah, I guess it's in some way related to crypto. So it kind of makes sense that it's falling off a cliff. And they did an offering, so yeah, I don't know. I guess back here they did an offering one of these days when it fell. So yeah, I'm not like not super sold on it. We'll wait and we'll see if we can get something out of it. But like I said, we had BTX yesterday that had very similar movement pre-market and didn't really end up resolving very well. GME obviously, still holding up a bit, just dipped down below this, this level of support at 183. I would say still not looking too bad. Yeah, I said this a few days in a row, but I'm thinking GameStop's probably gonna to fold over at some point. Just isn't looking spectacular. I was surprised that on that day that I did the offering, it dropped so steeply and then immediately got bought back up, which is insane to me. Um, I mean, like, I guess people on the internet genuinely seem to think it's priced correctly, but I have my serious doubts about that. Yeah, we talked about UTME, so those are really the only things that have come up this morning. So not really too much to look at the moment, unfortunately. I think yesterday ended up going well. I think trading on the short side of some of these stocks is probably the play at the moment, as opposed to what we were doing previously. What's going on, House? How's the morning going for you? We sat down, but there doesn't seem to be a lot going on here at the moment. So it might be a little bit before we end up making a trade today. GameStop seems to be selling off a little bit. What's up? Yeah, it's probably a good call, my man. Yeah. Um, these are like the days that I contemplate just like not streaming. Because I know I'm just going to sit here and absolutely nothing is going to happen the entire morning. It's just absolutely brutal. And actually look at the overall market. How's it doing? Sideways. Completely sideways from close yesterday. It's actually astounding how well the overall market's doing. Yeah, so I don't know if you were in here yesterday, but yesterday I pretty much like switched my strategy and it was like I'm only gonna short stuff. And I ended up making $60 yesterday. So definitely my best day. I don't know, in the last 3 weeks at the very least. So it seems like shorting is the way to go at the moment. Everything that's been popping up has just been pulling back so significantly. Need to I need to make like a top list for anything that's like moved below 10% for days like this probably. So I have these. Well, this is below 10%, but maybe like below 3 to 5% would be better. So we get some higher float stocks that are catch some higher float stocks here. Let's see if I can change this real quick. 5-minute movers, top lists. Alright. Okay, let's see if that worked. I didn't have my light speed window up, but I probably can do that. Alright, so I just moved the minus 10% to minus 5% to see if there's anything that we can, potentially think about trading on this. Obviously a lot of higher float stocks. Riot's up here though, which I find counterintuitive because I think SOS and Riot are linked, and SOS is up today. think they're both crypto stocks. So Riot dropping a bit. What's the price of Bitcoin yesterday? Or price of Bitcoin right now? Yeah, I'm probably gonna put my light speed window up somewhere on my screen at some point, just like my P&L window, but I can't show like the level 2 and stuff. So price of Bitcoin still relatively high, so I find it strange that crypto stocks are dipping a bit at the moment. I feel like they should be pretty solid right now. We have CSCW, which we've actually traded before, but CSCW is very low price. SOS popping up a tiny bit right now. Yeah, so I think SOS is one of these ones where people just, shorted it up here and have been holding it for the last few days. And SOS, struggling to break through these levels. It's pushing up to 620, but seems like it's having some difficulty. I'm interested to see if it breaks through up here. Why? It's interesting. Alright. So I took a little short position at SOS just to see if it bounces off of this, 619 level, since it seems to be having some trouble coming into it. I'm gonna cut it if it comes up to 620, so like a 3-cent loss. Otherwise, we wanna hold it down. And SOS on a short sale restriction, so you can only sell on or only short on an uptick at the moment. So coming up to 619, got quite a. Oh yeah, look at that, just ripped right through. See if it can hold. Hold back down below 620. So we'll see if it holds up here. Looks like it's getting some support, but we'll see what happens with it. I already took off half my position coming up through 620, so only holding half at the moment, just seeing if it'll come down off these levels. GME seems to be pulling back a little bit still. We can look at some of these stocks that have moved down, more than 5%. Maybe we'll take like a bounce on them, or if it looks like they're going to continue going down, we'll take a trade short on them. Yeah, SOS hitting a little bit of indecision around the 620 area. So if it comes up on this next 1-minute candle back up to 624, then we'll cover the rest of the position, and we'll look and see what else is happening here. Yeah, so hit out of it, down a whopping $5. But I don't know. I feel like I like this short. We had BTX pop up yesterday, and then ended up, very similar movement to this pre-market, and then ended up just like selling off into the open. Didn't really end up resolving into anything. So I'm gonna see if we can see that again today with this. Yeah, quite a lot of resistance coming up into 625. But I think because it's on short sale restriction, it's going to be harder for it to get pushed down, obviously. So might be a little bit more difficult to get like a solid pullback here. So all the things that are pulling back today are doing so on pretty light volume. So I don't know if we're going to take a trade on any of those. FGen like jumped off a cliff back here. I don't know what happened to this thing. What is the news on this? They had a target cut, downgraded. Was it like earnings or something? I don't think it was earnings. Apparently they had bad news about something that they make, which I guess makes sense. But yeah, Mara and Riot both down today. I think both of those are crypto plays. Yeah. I mean, it looks like Mara and Riot are like pretty linked price-wise. Yeah, very linked price-wise. We look back here. 8:15 it popped up a little bit. 8:30 started pulling back. We look at Mara. Yeah, popped up a little bit. 8:30 started pulling back. So those two are definitely linked together. Down 5% on the day. Might be worth trying to take a bounce on these, but they're both trading with very light volume at the moment, so don't think I'm going to take a trade, but just something to keep a lookout for. So we'll put them on the watch list just in case it makes a move back up today. SOS pushing higher now. I mean, now it's looking like it's got some strength coming into it. Like I said, this might be because it's on short sale restrictions, so it's harder for the shorts to hold it down. Yeah, much more difficult to, continuously push it down because you can only sell into an uptick. So it might be worth it to try to take a trade long on this if we can get like a decent setup. So that's something that I also, kind of have to be aware of. Since I haven't really looked at shorting stuff very much, I haven't really paid attention to like stocks on short sale restriction. So I think it's kind of like a good time to kind of look at this stock and see the way it's moving and compare it to other stocks that I've seen, that aren't on short sale restriction. It looks like it is having some trouble. Like you can tell that there are people selling into it as it comes into these levels, but the selling pretty abruptly stops once it starts coming down a bit. And I think it's because people are unable to short it indiscriminately. So definitely just a good thing to take note of. And maybe, in the future, uh, before taking a trade short, maybe think about whether it's on short sale restriction, whether that's a good idea to actually take the trade. So wait for a 5 minute setup on it. Begin nice 5 minute setup. Maybe I'll take a trade. But right now, not a lot else going on. Yeah, I mean, really, if volume comes into Riot or Mara for the bounce up, maybe we could take a trade on it, but it's just looking pretty weak right now. Hmm. Yeah, SOS. SOS definitely out here. Obviously back in February made a crazy, crazy move. But I don't know, man. I feel like the only reason it's even moving up at all right now is because it's on short sale restriction. Um, there's, I mean, over the last month or 2 months, there's probably people holding from, up above $10 who are trying to get out on this. So I think this thing would need to have to push a lot of volume to get through some of those people. And that's just like regular selling. That's not shorting. What's going on, Lugdor? If I pronounce that right, Lugdor. Lugdor. Just talking about how the market is not moving at all today. So, not really, not really too much to watch at the moment. Um, we've had a few things. Few things have pulled back today a bit. Few crypto stocks, but they're pulling back on low volume, so I don't think anything that we could really take a trade on at the moment. And then SOS is really the only thing that's coming up at the moment. I think if SOS drops back down through 575, if we look at like the volume profile on this, you can see that there's a pretty solid gap between 525 and 575 on extremely light volume. So I think if we drop back down to that level, we'll get those 50 cents like pretty much for free. Oh, ACY. The ACY has been going nuts in the last few weeks, I feel like. Let's check it out. Well, I guess it went crazy that one day back there. So in December, it went from $5 to $38. Oh, this was the one that back in December, didn't it it got halted pending news or whatever? Like the actual like exchange halted it and asked the company if there was any company specific news that it was gonna release. And the exchange like halted it at $38 and then it opened at like $18. It's just absolutely brutal. Which I think is why you see this price action throughout the last few months, where it's like pops up, sells off, pops up, sells off. Recently, we've got a little bit of a pop, but it's having a lot of trouble holding these levels, just because I'm sure there are a metric ton of people holding from up here who just wanted to come back up so they can get out. Yeah, so it gets halted every day, but there's a difference between a limit up and limit down halt and like an actual exchange halt. Um, so it went up like like 700% that one day back in December. And the exchange literally halted the stock and was like, "We're not resuming this stock until we talk to the company and determine whether or not there's news that they're expecting to release. And if there is news that they're expecting to release, like that would make sense for the price action. Otherwise, we're just gonna halt it and like let it cool down because, like for some reason, people have decided to buy it up 700% on the day." And when the exchange decides if they halt something, it can be halted for a like an arbitrarily long time. So there have been stocks that have been halted by exchanges and opened up like a month later, or 2 months later. ACY happened to only have been halted for a few hours on the day, because I remember watching it that day. I don't think I took any trades on it, but yeah, it went up and then it halted like somewhere around, like 11 o'clock or something. Uh, and then it didn't open until like 1:30 or 2, and when it opened, it was like half the price that it was. You're in at 1270 on ACY. Oh, I mean, so you're in the money right now. Yeah, dude, you're in the money. You good? Yeah, I mean, like ACY, it has been trending lately where it gets bought up coming into the market open. The last couple days it's been doing that, but it's kind of been pulling back a little bit coming into the market open, and then it comes up. So, I mean, you're in the money right now. I mean, if it starts pulling back, I would be I would be weary, but it has been doing pretty well the last couple days. Yeah, this day back here took really, really solid move. Wish I was around for it. So SOS still kind of just chilling, not really doing too much. Trading on a little bit lighter volume than yesterday when it came up. So, I don't know if we're going to take a trade on it. We'll see. It's now putting in a little bit of a 5-minute setup here. So we're thinking about trading it long. The break above 631 is probably the time to take shares on this. So we'll see if it ends up moving up here. The breakdown through 625 might be time to short it. But like I said before, it's on short sale restriction, so getting in at a good price is going to be a little bit more difficult. Just because you have to wait for a tick up once it drops below. So, we might see it drop below 625 and, drop straight to 618 or 620. And then we'll have to wait for the uptick to actually get in. So we kind of lose like, 7 cents, 6 cents off the top if something like that happens when you're trying to short it. So it's just something to look out for. Alright, so we'll see what the new candle does here. I mean, as far as like profit target on this, I guess if we break above here, the profit target's going to be, 650. Something closer to that. So it looks like it tried to come up there, but the new candle hasn't started yet. So we'll wait for this new candle, and we'll see if we get some volume moving in the direction we want it to go in. So just dropped to 625. Seems to be holding 625 at the moment. Got 40,000 shares buyers at 625, but we have 40,000 shares on both sides essentially, so it's not like that's a indicator of much. All right, so now we can watch something else for a second. We just had ASTC pop up at 8 o'clock. So really solid volume on this. So we'll see if this makes a move back up. Pulled back to VWAP. So on the break over 269 might be the place to buy. Might want to try to take some shares as it comes into VWAP. But it seems like it's coming down a little bit. Coming down on lighter volume though, which is good. But also it didn't really make such a spectacular move in this first move here. So let's see. Another stock that has put in like quite higher highs in the last few weeks and the last few months. So it's always questionable trading these. Yeah. I don't usually do any swing trades. I'm just not a huge fan of like it's like you can buy something with like the greatest of plans. You like looked at everything and it's all looking good, and then all of a sudden like the next day there's like a public offering before you can get out of your you can get out of your position, and then you just like tank, or like news comes out or something. So I like definitely actively managing the position better, even though sometimes that's doesn't really end up better monetarily for me. Uh, I'm still getting practice in, so. Really, the main point of trading at the moment is not really to make money for me. It's more to get some practice in. Then maybe one day in, I don't know, 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, I'll be able to trade with bigger size. Yeah, that's a killer, dude. It really is. Um, there's just like no good solution for it. Where it's like you can trade in a cash account, but then if you have a cash account, then you have to wait for your cash to settle, and that's just annoying. Um, I heard that they were potentially looking at reducing the time for cash accounts to settle, or just like trades settling in general. So like maybe if they do that, cash accounts will be more viable. If it's like guaranteed to settle the next day. But like just the way it is now is just it's terrible. Yeah, so ASTC not really doing it. Might have been one that we wanted to take a short trade on, but didn't end up taking a trade there. Also, I didn't have shorts available for it, so it's fine. I couldn't have done it if I wanted to. Yeah, I'm really only gonna short stuff if they're easy to borrow. If I have to like do locates for the stocks, it's not worth it for me. Yeah, so ASTC not doing too much. SOS, dropped off pretty hard. So this is kind of what I was talking about before, it dropped through 625 and pretty much went straight down to 618. So it would have been hard getting shares short on that, just because it is on short sale restriction. So um, there really wasn't much, like there was essentially like no uptick here between when it started dropping from 630 all the way down to like 615. I'm sure probably could have snagged some shares at some point, but you know the longer it goes down in a straight line, the worse your position is going to be, the worse your cost basis is going to be when you finally get into it. And now that is the highest volume candle of the day on SOS. So not great there for it. I would say that thinking that that's probably not going to come back up, but I have been wrong before. So we'll wait and see. Maybe if it starts coming back up to these levels, I mean that's pretty steep sell-off it just had. But maybe if it comes back up to the levels, around 630 to 635, and it looks a little bit stronger coming in closer to the open, then we'll take a trade on it. So right now the only trade I took this morning, I did take a trade short on SOS, and I'm down $5 on it. So it's the one and only trade that's happened so far. ASTC holding below VWAP, so I really doubt that it's going to come back up at the moment. I find it very strange that the low float market in the last 3 weeks has been so dead pre-market when the overall market has been so good. I feel like usually when the overall market is solid, the low float market is pretty solid as well. But a lot of the moves we've seen on low float stocks have been during market hours and not really pre-market into the open. Usually pre-market into the open has been kind of like, like meh, and the open, we've seen some volatility coming into the open, obviously, but I don't know. I just haven't seen like these really really solid moves until later in the day, like maybe starting between 10 and 12. And then the moves usually take place over a little bit of a longer period of time. Kind of like what we saw with ACY the other day, where it started moving at 11 o'clock here, and the entire move that it had took 2 hours to resolve. So a little bit of a longer move. And even similar with this move, coming into the open, it did well yesterday, and then it made another smaller move over the course of an hour, coming up into 11 o'clock. And then like optimal place to short was coming down through these levels. So it's like if you want to take this trade short for the fade for the rest of the day, you had to have been trading between 11 and 12 or 11 and 1 to get in a decent price. So it seems like market hours have been the way to go as of late. Not really pre-market into the open. Kind of just waiting until the open shakes out the way that it does, and then follow the trend. TMDI is coming up a tiny bit, but very high float stock. Volume is okay. And JWEL also. I need to update my float and short float information, because it seems like a lot of the lower floats that are coming up today, I don't have float information on them. So Yahoo Finance just hasn't filled it in yet, I guess. So ASTC for the break over VWAP now is also the break on the 5-minute chart. So it might be something that people are going to be buying into, but we've been moving on pretty light volume. So we'll wait and see what happens here. So it's pushing up. We'll see if it can hold above VWAP. A lot of selling coming into 255. So I don't love the way that that looks. You know, it tapped 255 and then had a pretty substantial amount of selling coming in, immediately got sold back off. Yeah, I don't love the way it's trading into 250 or 255. Well, that's unfortunate. You know, we've just seen this so much with some of these stocks where it's like, you know, they made a move up today. They hit 275, right? ASTC hit 275, and then we look back on the daily chart. And we're like, well, you know, 2 months ago it was between $3 and $4 for 2 weeks. So there's probably still people holding from up there who are waiting for an opportunity to leave. They're gonna see this spike today and see it as like a chance to finally get out with a little bit less loss. So just seeing too much selling coming into these levels for comfort. Usually what you would want to see, especially on the 5-minute break, increased volume, which we do have a little bit of increased volume, but you know, now we have a false breakout. We came above VWAP and then we couldn't hold the level. And if that happened, you know, maybe if the volume was a little bit lighter, it would be more palatable, but pushed up on heavy volume and then sold off on heavy volume, so just not good. I have to be, I think, less focused on you know, like the volume of large candles as we come into the open, because I was kind of, you know, doing some analysis of what I've seen other YouTubers and streamers and people with, you know, followings, how they trade coming into the open, and I would say that a lot of the people that I've seen have less of a focus on like the volume profile of the day. So even if, you know, back an hour ago there was so if we're like looking at this, right, you know, coming into the open, this might continue popping up, but this candle looks very bad right now, has bad volume right now, and you know, that would influence me into the future, thinking like, well, you know, had a false break on the 5-minute, higher volume, it didn't really look too good, and I would be hesitant to buy, you know, coming closer into the open. A lot of people that I see trading and streaming into the open do not care about like previous, you know, volume profile, like I said, nearly as much. So if they think like the setup, like volume agnostic, as long as like the stock is liquid enough, you know, they'll take trades on it, regardless, based on whatever their setups are, and they don't really care as much about previous volume. So I feel like I've missed a few opportunities between like the 9 and 9:30 range, by, you know, not really liking the way the stock was moving throughout the pre-market and the way the volume distribution was, and then like the new people jumping in at 9 o'clock and trading, and they have, you know, 100 other people trading with them as they're streaming. Don't really care as much about that, and they just end up buying it anyway. It goes up, and you know, I miss the trade. So I need to be a little bit more aware of that, and maybe look for the kind of trades that they'd be willing to make coming in, and try to hop on the old bandwagon with them. So it's really what you want to do in trading, you know. It's not about what you think looks good. It's about what everyone else thinks looks good. You know, if you can find setups that you think that would convince other people to buy, it doesn't matter if you think it looks fine. You know, because if other people are buying, then you're on the right side of the trade. If you're going long, and if other people are selling, then you're on the right side of the trade if you're going short. So yeah, we just gotta wait it out. ASTC really the only thing popping up at 8 o'clock. We also had TMDX, but you know, it's a higher price stock, a little bit of a higher float. Don't really love the look of it. We have GME coming back up to where it started this morning, or at least closer to it. Very light volume on that, which is, you know, the story of GME in the last few weeks. The pre-market has been extremely underwhelming on it, so no surprise there. And let's check out SOS. So now if we see, you know, if we see SOS push up into VWAP now, it might be a good time to try to take a bounce off of VWAP as it pushes up. Especially because, like I was saying before with this, you know, volume profile that we're looking at, there's quite a large gap in volume between 575 and 525. So I think when we get the breakdown through 6 and then get closer to 575, I think it's going to have, you know, quite a hard dip. So if we come up to VWAP now, might want to try to think about taking a trade short on this if we see it coming back down. And VWAP right now is sitting at, you know, 606, 607. So we'll see what the volume looks like pushing up. I'd like to see it get closer to VWAP and then put in a red candle before I, you know, I try to take a trade on this. Like I said, with a short sale restriction, it's going to be harder for shorts to push this stock down. So you need more like natural people selling off their positions to kind of aid in the you know, selling off. So I like to see it push up at least 2 VWAP, maybe even push through VWAP and then come back down. I guess on the 1 minute setup for the short play, breaking down through 598 is what we want, but to be a little safer, I'd really like to see this go closer to VWAP before I get in on it. And it had such a steep, you know, a steep dip here. I think it's a little bit overextended on the short side at the moment. 3 fairly large, you know, red 5-minute candles. Just give it a second to come back up, and then we'll see if we can make a trade on it the next time it comes back down. Not too much going on. SOS still kind of holding just below 6 at the moment. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen it, you know, come up a little bit higher. So we're gonna wait for it to get a setup on this. Until then, we're just chilling. GameStop's not moving. Oh, you know what's actually interesting? My broker Lightspeed has finally lifted the margin restrictions on GameStop. So it's interesting. It was at it was unmarginable for I guess the last 2 months. Yeah, 2 months now, 2.5 months. So now it's marginable again. Now you could take 4 times leverage on it if you really wanted to. Probably not recommended, but it's just interesting to see that come off because it was obviously such a big deal when that happened. Alright, we got SOS pushing up again. Like to see it get closer to view up. It's really struggling pushing above 603 here, so has now triple topped, quadruple topped at 603. Yeah, so quite a lot of resistance coming into 603. People are not willing to buy it up past that point, it seems like. But you know, still kind of in trend for the moment. No false breakouts on it yet. That's what I would really like to see. I'd love to see like a 5-minute candle that pushes over a view up, and then does a false breakout, pulls back down to below 603. I think that would just be spectacular. The last dip that SOS made was on very heavy volume, so it looks like it's definitely on the downtrend a little bit at the moment, which is what we want to see. Triple top on the 5-minute, quadruple top on the 1-minute. So that's really going to be the level to play around there. If it takes a bounce off 591, goes back higher, that'd be good. If it drops through 591, then we'll kind of miss the trade. There's not really too much you could do at that point. Hit 590, but 590 has 65,000 shares sitting on it. So it's gonna have a little trouble getting through there. That's a lot of shares, man. I wonder what the float of this stock is. It must be pretty high. There's no way this is a very low float stock. Let's see if Yahoo Finance has it. Because the amount of volume that it's pushing and the price action associated with that is I don't know. I feel like it's just it's kind of indicative more of a higher float stock. What is this? SOS Investor Alert. SOS Limited Investors of Class Action. Apparently they got some news going on with them. It doesn't sound like good news. I'm surprised that it's going up. Alright. That's the market cap, so we could just do the math ourselves, I suppose. But it's gotta have the float on here, right? Float NA. We do the market cap. This 858 million divided by, what is it, 450 is what it opened at yesterday or closed at yesterday. Yeah, so I mean, like, looks like this thing is probably between 150 million and 200 million float stock. which kind of makes sense by how much volume it's pushing for the moves that it's making. Makes sense. I find it very strange that they have on Yahoo Finance, they have a price and they have the market cap, but they don't have the float. When the float should be equivalent to the market cap divided by the price. So it just seems a little weird to me. SOS is a decent short float. It looks like too potentially. Um, I should probably do that on my scanners. Have it make like an estimated float based on the market cap and the price. Maybe I'll do that. I'll write that in this weekend. See if I can make an estimated float. ASTC making a move back up on lighter volume. So it's interesting to see. Let's see if it can hold this move. Made a nice breakthrough VWAP, whereas previously when it came up through VWAP, it was really struggling to break through these levels. And you know, this is kind of what I was talking about on ASTC, where it's like, you know, judging by these candles back here and the way that this volume is, especially this first candle too, and the 5-minute, you know, it pushed up, pulled back half of its move nearly immediately. This kind of makes me a little bit weary to buy this going forward today. But definitely, you know, people sitting down, streamers that I've seen, other people that I watch on YouTube, will be less likely to be affected by, you know, this price action back here, and more just care about, you know, what's happening when they sit down at 9 o'clock and they start looking at this stuff. Oh, what's going on, Lunchbox? I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute. How are you? Yeah, so I think people are going to be, you know, less affected by this previous price action. They see stuff coming to the pre-market highs right now, and they'll look for a trade on it. So drop this on the active trader window and see if we can get a decent setup on this. I'd like to try to get a 5-minute setup on this. See if we can get it to come back up, you know, at 8:30. Nice, nice. It's always good to take some time off. You don't want to be grinding too hard. Yeah, so we'll see if we can get a 5-minute setup on this. You know, coming in after 8:30, maybe we'll see some more people who are willing to buy it. And now, you know, nice volume on this 5-minute. Not as much as, you know, the first break when it came up on news, but still looking okay. This is another, you know, COVID play. Making breath tests for COVID. It's like the COVID catalysts are kind of falling off a bit. They're definitely not like valued as highly as they were. Obviously, you know, like 6 months ago. Since now, you know, we got vaccines, obviously. A lot more people are vaccinated at the moment than they were 2 months ago. So hopefully we'll be dealing with the COVID stuff a lot less. Get some new catalysts in here. We had NFTs going crazy for about 2 weeks, and then they dropped off. And you know, crypto stuff in general. So we have to see what the next new catalyst is that we're gonna want to trade on. 1-minute candles now. Highest volume candles of the day are red. makes me not want to buy into this, but also it's looking strong at the moment. So yeah, just busted straight through these highs. We'll see how it looks coming up into the pre-market high at 274. I didn't change anything, roll. So what's going on, man? How you doing this morning? Yeah, so this is kind of like my hesitation on ASTC that I was talking about before, where it's like, judging by the volume that I've seen throughout the day and the way that it was acting previously, like this makes me not want to buy it, but it's still looking strong. And, you know, maybe coming into 9 o'clock, um, you know, people who are just sitting down and thinking about making trades on this only really care about the price action recently. So I feel like I'm kind of hindering myself by making some judgment calls on these stocks before we have some new traders coming in. I'm good, doing well. Last few weeks have been, you know, pretty slow trading wise. Uh, Yesterday I decided to make the switch to start trying to short things that are coming up and looking pretty weak. So ended up working out pretty well for me yesterday. So I was pretty happy about that. So I'm gonna try to start working that in a little bit more, and just trying to get practice in shorting things since I've only really been looking at things long for the last few months. So trying to mix it up a little bit, trying to trade the market we're in. Which I find crazy. I was talking about this earlier today. I mean, the overall market has just been insane lately. It's been, you know, going crazy. Every day we're getting new highs. Um, and the low float market has been comparatively pretty weak in the pre-market coming into the open. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing that because things really haven't been making, you know, like large continued moves long. A lot of the stuff that we've seen has been coming up and, you know, failing very quickly. So, you know, in the past like month and a half that I've been, you know, trading on stream, a lot of the trades that I've been taking have been like buying and then selling as soon as we're in the profit, essentially, you know, or as soon as we have profit targets that are very close to our buying points. Um, I think that'll change when we see some momentum coming back in, and then maybe I'd be willing to hold, you know, on the long side for longer. But I think that's kind of uh, in that respect, like holding longer has been much more beneficial on the short side as of late. So I'm gonna try to do that more. I need to just work on generally just other trading strategies than the ones that I've been, you know, doing lately. Just because it seems like the stuff that I've been doing has not really been working out very well lately. So need to mix it up. Gotta get some fresh strategies in here. Yeah, I mean ASTC, it's going up. But the thing that always gets me is like you made a move up here, solid move. You know, on the 1 minute, made a move up, looking nice. Pulled back, two highest volume candles of the day. Then made another good move. You know, high volume, pulled back, by far the highest volume candle of the day. Now it's like, what do I do here? Do I take the setup long, knowing that the last red candle on the 1 minute was the highest volume candle of the day? Or do I just, you know, sit it out and potentially watch it go higher here? Uh, and I've been thinking about this a lot in the last couple weeks because I've definitely missed out on trades like this because I look at the volume and I'm like, well, the volume does not look good here. You know, ton of selling coming into it. Um, you know, highest volume candles of the day are like solid red candles. You know, no tail, doesn't look like it got bought up at all. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I get you. I feel like with day trading, it's like you need to be good. I feel like to be consistently profitable, you need to be good at at least a few different things. And I think like the main thing you need to be good at, which I am not good at yet, is like context switching, where it's like as soon as you see the market, as soon as you see one play fall off, like you need to know, like, all right, let me go over the trades for today and see if any of the other plays that I have been working out. Yeah, that's like I've been reading and watching a bunch of like algo trader stuff, and like the algo traders, they just have like a dozen strategies, and at any given time, maybe only a few of those strategies are actually working, and it's kind of like a balancing act between um, like trying to get these strategies that are working and are making money, and then the strategies that aren't working at the time, trying to make it so you lose as little money as possible on those until those plays start working again. No, I've never done anything with leveraged indices. As far as like scalping goes as well, like in the morning I mainly trade on Thinkorswim, and I think scalping is significantly more difficult on a trading platform that doesn't have like direct routing, just because the execution speed is like abysmal. So if you're scalping like smaller moves, like the execution speed could literally make those like make the move that you're trying to make, like make it infeasible for you to trade that. So we're pushing up right now on ASTC. I'm gonna wait for a 5 minute setup on this. I think I'd be comfortable taking a 5 minute setup on it, even with the way the volume is. Why, thank you. I also wish you luck. Um, so Carl out here. Haven't seen you in a minute, Carl. Carl shouting out RMO here. I feel like we looked at RMO yesterday. Yeah, because RMO popped up yesterday, but in the time that I usually trade it, it didn't really do too much. But it seems like it had a really solid day throughout the day yesterday. Look at this move, absolutely insane. This thing pretty much went in like a straight line up from 850 to 1350. Absolutely insane move. Yeah, I've seen people trade like QQQ, definitely. But I don't really look at those too much. I'm just trying to focus mainly on stuff that moves, like pre-market and then into the market open. Like maybe I'd consider that, but I don't really have a ton of time to trade into the market open. So that's the thing. It's like I really need to focus on strategies that can potentially make moves in the pre-market mainly. And most of those like indices and things that track like the whole market or specific sectors, they usually don't have a ton of movement pre-market. It's mostly just like individual stocks that are coming up on news. So ASTC, the buy over 278 right now is the break of the 5 minute. So we'll watch for that. Watch for that and see if we can take a trade on it. On the 1 minute, the break over 272 is the setup. Might be, might be good to take a trade off of down here at VWAP, but the way the volume is right now, I don't love the way it looks. We've essentially put in on the 1 minute, like 6 or 7 red candles and dojis, so it's really looking very weak at the moment. So I want to see this come back up. Maybe now the move up over 272, I'll take some shares on it. So yeah, if we push up over 272, I'll try to take a trade on this to catch this 1 minute move. We've had 2 1 minute false breakouts, so I do kind of want to be careful on this. If we push up through 272 and it turns back around on us, then we want to get out quick. Otherwise, we want to look for the break on the 5-minute. I am also not familiar with QQQJ. The Q's J. Is that just like a different class of stock for QQQ? Or is it actually a different ticker in general? Also, do indices have like different classes of stocks? Like you see like, like a normal stock will have like the warrants, and stuff like that. Do indices have those as well? I actually don't know. Alright, so we're pushing up a bit here. So, bought some shares coming up over 272. Like I said, we'll keep the stop pretty tight here. If we push up over 272 and we immediately pull back, we want to at least have it hold over 270. And we're really looking for this break over 278 at the moment. And I sold off a third of my position as we pushed over 278. I was in with 45 shares, holding 30 right now. Not taking a huge share size on this just because I don't love the way this has been trading and the volume that it's been pushing in. But, next price target, we'll take off half if we push back up to the pre-market high, 286. And then, if we push down below 269, then we'll probably take off the position we have here. I think we're looking okay for right now. The 5-minute break of 278 still holding. So now in 2.5 minutes, as we come into 8:45, we want to hold above that level, 278. If we drop below 278 and the candle closes, I'll probably close out my position just because it'll be a false breakout in the 5-minute. It's the largest 100 NASDAQ listed companies outside of the NASDAQ 100 index. Interesting. So it's like the secondary to the NASDAQ 100 to 200 index. So ASTC kind of just chilling. Not really moving too fast, so I don't think I have to worry about just getting like absolutely ripped down right now. Like I said, we want this to hold above 278 when this 5-minute candle closes. So minute and 15. I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, I assume if it's an index that tracks, at least something that's near the top 100 of the NASDAQ, right? So it's like top 100 to 200. I assume it probably tracks very similarly to the way the top 100 trade as well. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with trading it. I mean, I personally wouldn't see a benefit of trading that over like the normal Qs. I don't know what like the benefit is. Maybe because they're slightly less established, like lower market cap stocks, there's the chance for higher volatility. But yeah, I wouldn't know. All right, so 5-minute candle is closing in 15 seconds. We want this to hold above 278. That's what we want. Looks like we're gonna make it. Yep, closed up 279. We're sitting at 280 at the moment. I'm still willing to hold these shares down to, we got an average price of 271, which is solid. So holding these down to below 269 will only have like a 2 cent downside, and I think we could potentially be looking at a nice upside on this. So I think we're looking good at the moment. Like I said, 286. I moved my profit target down a little bit. For the first profit target that I took, it was as we came up through 277, which was this level of resistance that we hit the last time we had a 1 minute false breakout. So I kind of adjusted the profit target to there instead of the pre-market high, because it was trading a little questionably for a minute here. We had two false breakouts, a lot of red candles in a row, so I took the profit quick. Really, I probably should have held it up to 286 now that we're breaking it. So depending on how we look coming up through this level, if we immediately pull back, I'll probably take off another half as we're moving through this. But if we're looking strong, I'll continue holding and see if we end up making a push up towards $3. Oh, good long term. Yeah, I don't know. As far as like long term goes, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why you would choose that as opposed to the regular Qs. I assume there's probably some people online that will be able to tell you way better than I could. So a little bit of resistance up here at 289. So I'm gonna take off half, just because we're getting some selling coming in. Pushing down into 287. So we still have our 15 shares sitting here. We'll hold this. If we get a pullback and then we get another 5 minute setup, maybe I'll add to the position. I haven't added to the position just because I didn't love the way it was trading previously. But now it seems to be trading, significantly better. All of the highest volume candles of the day are, nice green candles. On the pullback we had here on the 1 minute, it was on lighter volume on this red candle, which is good to see. So I think volume is looking really good right now. Just the general trading, generally the way this is trading right now is looking significantly better than it was, 20 minutes ago. So we'll hold these last shares. If we pull back, we want to hold. Ideally we want to hold probably above 280, but we can tolerate a pullback down to like 277. And then maybe if we get a little bit of a pullback and then we push back up, then I'll add to the position for the move over $3. Yeah, I mean, true, I could see that. But you could also, you could also say the same thing where it's like the Qs in 30 years might be trading at 3,000. you know. I am definitely not the person to ask for long-term investment advice. But I would think that the majority of those like roughly entire market tracking indices are probably going to have a very similar rate of change. Like indices that are like sector specific, that there might be quite a wide variation in those. But I think ones that track the entire market, I would have to assume are usually pretty close to each other as far as like rate of growth. Yeah, I'm quite liking the way ASTC is trading now. We'll see if we break down here through 280. Like I said, at the very least, we would like to hold above. Actually, I didn't realize. So now, as we're pulling back, because we didn't hold above 284, we now just put in a 5-minute false breakout. So might expect a little bit of a pullback here. I mean, I'd like it if we immediately bounce back up and rebound up to 3, but I would expect some selling off. and we are getting that little bit of selling off. Held up at 278, which is great. Like I said, 277 is that place that I'm eyeing that I want it to hold up. It's a previous level of resistance and support. So definitely what we want to see. Yeah, and you know, if you ever hear me say anything, make sure you double check that with someone else. Because I definitely have a lot to learn about this stuff, and a lot of the things that I talk about, it's stuff that I've gotten from like books or articles that I've read, and people that I watch on YouTube as well and Twitch. So it's like, I would say that I still have a very long way to go before I actually really know what I'm talking about. So if I say something and you're like, that doesn't sound quite right, that you may be correct. Alright, we're pushing back up. Still got our 15 shares working for us at the moment. So not anything too crazy. Really, I'd like a 5-minute setup to add to this, since, the last trade I took was... Well, the last trade I took was actually on a 1-minute setup, but it was a 1-minute setup with a very tight stop. And it was with the expectation of it making the move on the 5-minute. Because it seemed like we were bouncing up off of VWAP, trying to reclaim these levels. So I kind of want to do the same thing with this. I'd like to get more of a 5-minute setup before I actually buy into it. So we're just waiting. I mean, we've had, I'm fine with kind of just chilling right now and watching what ASTC does. The pullback is on low volume, which is good. Some of these other pullbacks have been on, quite high volume, which is why I didn't like this back here. But now our pullback is on significantly lower volume than our green candle, which is great. So I'm really happy about the way it's trading right now. And since we don't really have anything else popping up on the scanners, there's really no reason to try to split my attention right now. I think we're looking, I think we're looking good for a move back up here. On the 5-minute, break above 286. It's kind of looking like an ad spot, but this is the high of this 5-minute candle. So it's kind of, not really like, it's like a pseudo breakout, which you do see sometimes. I mean, like some people refer to them, I guess, as like premature breakouts, where a candle will put in a high, and then towards the end of that candle will break over its previous high. And sometimes you don't like to see that because generally people who are looking for these setups want to see like true breakouts where it makes a new candle and then breaks over the high. So hopefully this will, kind of consolidate between 280 and 285, and then in a minute at 855 we can get the break over 286. Then if we break over 286, I'll probably maybe I'll try to add to my position if it looks like we're gonna make a nice move. Definitely getting some ascending support here. 278, 280, 281. So a little bit of ascending support. We're looking good there. Now what we want to see is in 20 seconds, we want to see the break over 285, which is the 1-minute break, and then the 5-minute break will be the break over 286. So that is what we want to see. And if we pull back down through 280 now, I'll probably take off the shares that I'm holding. So, looking for the orders here. We want to see what the orders are looking like. If we see a ton of red coming in, see a lot of selling coming in now, but it's not really affecting the price yet. because we have 20,000 shares sitting at 280, 281. So even though we had a lot of orders going through, we have quite a lot of support at the moment. So now in the 1 minute, the break over 282 for the move back up is probably where we want to add if we see buying start coming back into this. That's going to be hopefully in 20 seconds on the next 1 minute candle. Yeah, it's pushing into 280, but we're still holding up okay. We'll see if we can bust through this 281 level. It's got 20,000 shares sitting on it, so it's going to be a little bit of a... Yeah, so we're selling off into 280. So let's see if we can hold up 277. And if we see... broke down. Alright. So... So we'll dip out right here. I don't love to see that breakdown. It did immediately get bought back up off VWAP, but I just don't love to see it. So we really wanted it to hold that level. When it breaks down through levels like this, like you have to have your plan. And if it broke down through 277, I was selling, so got to do it. The way it's trading right now is, has been pretty solid. Even this pullback to below 277 was on lighter volume, so that's still good. So, if it starts making a comeback now, and maybe, let's get rid of some of these lines over here on this chart. The high of this candle is sitting at 282. If this pushes back up to 280, and then we have another 5-minute candle break over 282, we could end up taking another trade on this. But just the way it's pushing down right now is not what I wanted to see. The resistance that was coming into these levels, like when we were pushing down into 280, there was quite a lot of stacked sellers against us. But right now, it's pushing back up. As it was pushing up through, 278 and 277 there, we had some stacked buyers. We had about 30,000 shares of buyers, sitting on those prices. So a little bit of support now coming in. And like I said, maybe now coming into 9 o'clock, if we see a nice 5-minute candle at 9 o'clock that pushes above 282, then we'll consider taking some shares on it. And then we'll keep the stop pretty tight on that. And meanwhile, we have SOS back here, still kind of just moving sideways from where it was at 8 o'clock. Not really too much to talk about there. So ASTC really the one to watch at the moment. It's looking good buying into 282 right here. I kind of want to... I wanted to stay close to 280 because I think that'll give us a nice price to buy into. So now this 5-minute candle put in a pretty significant tail. Still holding above 280. Yeah, I'd like it to pull back a little bit. God, it just keeps pushing higher. So this is like that thing that I was talking about, where it's a kind of a little bit of a premature breakout, breaking above 282 there. Really would have liked to have waited for the next candle to break above 282. So we'll see if we get some buying coming in here. So bought 15 shares, 284. Looked like we had quite a bit of buying coming up into it. I'm gonna keep this stop very tight. You know, if we come down below 281, I'll sell it. If we come back up and push above 286, then we'll buy more shares. But you know, on the 5 minute with this nice like green hammer coming in here, we have this nice long tail on this and an end of green. We would like to see an immediate move up. AIHS just popped up on the scanners, so it's also coming to 9 o'clock, so time to watch the scanners here. AIHS popped up, but doesn't look like anything that we really want to trade. Kind of lower volume at the moment, lower price. It's pulled back half the move. Just not anything that looks too great. So yeah, I think ASTC is probably the one people are going to be watching. SOS is kind of having a little trouble pushing up through VWAP. So definitely watch ASTC for right now. And if it drops below 280 now, you know, if it just starts getting eaten into, which I think it's going to have a hard time because it's got a 50,000 share buyer at 280 at the moment. So quite a lot of support there. So really we just want to wait until we see some big buy orders going through. Hopefully. Oh, and, you know, we got the opposite here. Just got eaten through that 50,000 share buyer at 280. So we're catching some support at 278. I want to give this a second because I want to see if people coming in at 9 o'clock are willing to buy this up, but not seeing a ton of support coming through. Yeah. I'm going to head out here. This is an unfortunate thing. I would have liked to have seen, you know, on the 5 minute, but if we look at the charts over here, you know, on the 5 minute we were looking really solid. So this was a bad 5 minute breakout. You know, kind of failed here. Then we had a little bit of a doji. But then we pushed down towards VWAP and then reclaimed that entire level and turned green. So we have a nice green candle here with quite a big tail. So I wanted to see like some immediate resolution coming into 9 o'clock. Hopefully people, you know, we want to see people trying to buy this up because there really isn't a whole lot else to look at this morning. So I was hoping we'd see people catch, or we'd see this catch some buying as people were coming in, but didn't end up happening. Another stock popping up on the scanner, AIKI. AIKI, yeah, decent volume, lower price though, very low price stock. Maybe I'll keep it on the side here. I think ASTC is definitely still the one to watch, and I could see this, you know, getting some buying coming into the open. SOS similarly, I think could get bought up as well, especially because it's on it's on like short sale restriction, so it's going to be harder for the shorts to force the price down on that. So I think coming closer to the open, I'll probably be watching ASTC and SOS. Yeah, ASTC, man, I was really hoping for this move up. You know, the volume on it looks, you know, pretty good. On the 1 minute, the volume's really nice. On the 5 minute, yeah, the volume leaves a little bit to be desired, just because this green candle is so small, but it still is, you know, highest volume candle a day, and it is green candle. So KI now pulling back, so we're just gonna slap SOS up there. SOS also higher float stock, so might be a little bit harder for that thing to to catch a good move. Yeah, ASTC the one to watch, but it doesn't really look like it's doing anything for us. Could be looking better. 5 minute setup on it now is, pretty far away. Buying up through 284, so it's gonna be rough trying to reclaim those levels. We'll see if it breaks down to 275 if people are willing to buy it off VU up. Only 25,000 share buyer at VU up, which is not super significant. You'd think you'd see more than that as we're pushing down into it. Yeah, not too much going on. Oh. Alright, well, it's after 9 o'clock now. Don't really have too much that popped up to watch. ASTC really the only one that I think is potentially viable. SOS could come up into the open, but I think ASTC definitely looks a lot better coming into the open at the moment. Not as much support as I would have liked coming into VU up, but definitely still has potential to move. So, I'll be watching this into the open. I said it before, I don't really like taking a ton of trades, like in the last 10 minutes into the open, so probably gonna close the stream now as ASTC is selling off into VU up. Go get ready and then maybe try to take a few trades after the open. But I'll let you guys know how that goes. Decent trade on ASTC, but unfortunately, didn't really move too much and kind of has been selling off for a bit now. So, I hope you guys do well into the open today. Hope you guys make some good trades, make some money. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.